Welcome, and thank you for choosing this time with me. My name is Nancy Mikkel-Musso, and today I'd like to invite you into a space of gentleness, grace, and heart-centered awareness. The title of my talk is Swan Song of the Soul, Awakening Beauty and Power Through Holy Fire Reiki. I chose this title very intentionally. Across many cultures and spiritual traditions, the swan is a symbol of awakening, awakening to one's true beauty, one's inner power, and one's authentic self. The swan doesn't force its way across the water, it glides. And that is very much the way healing unfolds through Reiki. I'd like to begin by inviting in the energy of the swan, not as an idea, but as a felt sense. The swan teaches us that transformation doesn't require force. It requires presence. It requires softness. And it requires trust. As we begin, I'd like to gently acknowledge the direction of the north. The north is a place of stillness, wisdom, and inner knowing. It is the direction associated with the element of earth, grounding us, holding us, and reminding us that it's supported. The swan too carries the energy of the north. While its feathers symbolizing clarity and purity, the swan teaches us to move through life with grace, even when the waters feel uncertain. Today, we invite that energy, the steadiness of the earth, the wisdom of the north, and the gentle clarity of the swan to be present with us, not as something outside of us, but as something we already carry within. If it feels comfortable, I invite you to take a slow breath and perhaps place one hand gently over your heart, not to change anything, not to fix anything, just to arrive. Allow your shoulders to soften. Allow the breath to find its rhythm. And simply notice that you are here at this moment that has been chosen. The swan has been a guide in my life for many years, and I'd like to share briefly why this symbol holds such deep meaning for me. Years ago, my husband and I would visit a quiet pond near a cemetery where his daughter was laid to rest. There were two swans that lived there. We would sit together and watch them, their grace, their stillness, the way they moved together without effort. In these moments, words weren't necessary. The swans became a symbol of peace, presence, and something deeper than grief. I realized then that the swans meeting was exactly what Reiki offered me. This is why the swan became my symbol, not just of healing, but of awakening to the true beauty and power we carry within. Reiki and the swan's message became harmonious with my teachings. As you hear this, I invite you to simply notice your body for a moment. Where do you feel this? In your chest, your breath, your shoulders, Just noticing is enough. Reiki was first explained to me as a Japanese healing modality that beautifully complements Western medicine. It supports the body's natural ability to heal by allowing the nervous system to relax, by creating space for the body to remember what it already knows how to do. At its core, Reiki reminds us of something very important. We all have the power to heal. Mikao Usui taught that there is no limit to the quality and effectiveness of the Reiki energy available in the universe, and that one of the purposes of every student is to continually seek to improve the quality and effectiveness of the Reiki energy they are able to channel. This teaching has been foundational in my work because it gives us permission to partner consciously with universal life force energy and to allow our relationship with Reiki to expand and evolve over time. What I discovered, though, is that Reiki isn't just a healing modality, it's a way of living. The more we work with it, the more we practice, the more we learn how this intelligent energy moves through us. It is subtle yet profoundly powerful. For the past 13 years, Reiki has gently guided my life's major decisions, and it continues to do so. Receiving Reiki, whether from a practitioner or through self-Reiki, allows the body to remain in a state of relaxation. From that relaxation comes calm. From calm comes clarity. And from clarity, we are better able to meet life's challenges, not as obstacles, but as opportunities for growth, expansion, and awakening our true beauty and inner power. I believe deeply in divine plans, and Reiki presented an opportunity that would quietly transform my understanding of this work. For 6 years, just before 2020 and the global pandemic, I worked as a Reiki practitioner in a long-term care home. Those years offered me a profound glimpse into how Reiki could be given without a box. There was no set program, no treatment table, no predictable flow. What I came to realize over time was that before I even left the house to go work with the seniors, it was beneficial to become Reiki so that when I entered the long-term care facility, I was ready for anything. My aura filled with Reiki love, my nervous system calm, my heart open. This experience expanded my perception of Reiki from a structured practice with clients coming in to lie on a table into something much more expansive. Reiki became something that could be offered in many different ways. Sometimes through simply holding hands, sometimes through shared music, sometimes through quiet presence, and sometimes through sitting with those in palliative care. It was no longer about doing Reiki. It was about being Reiki. During those years, I also learned something essential. Self-care is not optional. It is necessary. To hold space for others, especially in environments filled with transition, grief, and vulnerability, required me to listen deeply to my own energy. Reiki guided me in knowing when to pause, when to rest, and when to say yes. And there were many yeses. Reiki presented opportunities, and I knew in my heart they were right. I didn't hesitate to accept them. Many of these opportunities involved writing, co-authoring a book called 365 Days of Self-Love, and writing an article for Reiki News magazine titled Reiki for Aging Seniors. Once I began listening to Reiki's gentle prompts, they became ever forthcoming. One thing led to another, and then another. One of the strongest nudges I continued to receive was the desire to learn more, to deepen my relationship with Reiki itself. I studied different forms of Reiki with different masters: Karuna Reiki, World Peace Reiki, Creative Reiki, and deeper work with the chakra system. It felt like standing on the edge of a pond with stepping stones. I would step onto one stone and then learn, integrate, and then when the time was right, another stone would appear, and then another. When the global pandemic arrived, those stepping stones led me inward. I spent the following year deeply focused on distant Reiki, becoming exquisitely attuned to how Reiki moved through me and worked with me during those sessions. It reinforced once again that this is an intelligent energy, responsive, compassionate, and guided. Reiki had long since stopped being something I practiced. It had become a way of listening, living, and allowing guidance to unfold, one step at a time. As I worked in these spaces, I began to understand how the heart protects itself. During the time of the global pandemic, I began experiencing chest pains, which led to a visit to my doctor's office. I was diagnosed with pericarditis, an inflammation of the pericardium. At that time, I had no idea what the pericardium even was. I learned that it is a protective sac, a sleeve that surrounds and shields the heart. As I sat with this diagnosis, I began to reflect not just on my physical health, but on what I had been carrying emotionally. I was caring for an ailing husband. I was holding space for collective fear and grief during the pandemic, and I was offering Reiki to many people, perhaps without protecting my own energy as well as I might have. I was given antibiotics, which supported the physical healing. And at the same time, I felt called to explore more deeply why this happened, to learn more about the pericardium itself. Over time, I began to see a pattern. I realized that I had been putting up a shield in many areas of my life. A shield when offering Reiki, a shield when absorbing collective fear, a shield while caring for someone I loved deeply. And while that protection made sense, I came to understand that constantly holding those walls can also create tension, even inflammation, when there is no opportunity to soften. The healing for me came through learning how to gently soften those walls, not by tearing them down, but by allowing support in. Journaling, which is my form of meditation, became essential. Qigong, with its beautiful flowing movements, help more energy through and out of the body, morning and night. Self Reiki, especially bringing awareness and compassion to my heart, became a daily practice. And receiving Reiki from trusted colleagues reminded me that I didn't have to hold everything alone. Through the process, my understanding of the pericardium deepened, not just as an anatomical structure, but as a wise protector of the heart, one that knows when to guard and when it's safe to soften. Life creates emotional pericardiums. Grief, loss, overwhelm, and those protective walls can become restrictive over time. As I came to understand the pericardium as the protector of the heart, I began to wonder, not just about myself, but about all of us. How often do we protect our hearts without even realizing it? The heart's role is to receive and to give, to take in what nourishes, and to send life back out again. When that flow is natural, we feel open, connected, and alive. Many of us are very good at giving. We give our time, our care, our attention, our energy, but receiving support, receiving rest, receiving care can feel much harder. And it made me wonder, do we always need a shield? Or are there other ways to protect ourselves that still allow the heart to soften? I'm going to invite you to pause with that question for just a moment. You might gently place a hand over your heart and notice, without judgment, how your heart protects itself right now. Is it tight? Is it guarded? Is it open in some places and protected in others? There's no right or wrong here. This is simply awareness. Protection isn't wrong. The pericardium exists for a reason. Boundaries exist for a reason. But protection doesn't have to be hardness. It doesn't have to mean shutting down. What I've learned is that awareness itself can be a form of protection. Knowing when we need rest, knowing when we're taking on too much, knowing when to soften and when to pause. And this is where practices like Reiki come in. Not to fix us, but to help us listen, to restore the natural rhythm of giving and receiving, to remind the heart that it doesn't have to be guarded by iron. Reiki softens emotional rigidity with compassion and allows the heart to breathe and expand again. Before we continue, I'd love to offer a few minutes of Reiki. This energy is gentle, intelligent, and guided by your highest good. Place one hand softly over your heart, resting lightly as if touching the pericardium with compassion. For these next few minutes, simply breathe and receive what is right for you. Take one more slow breath. Reiki will continue working long after this moment. Whatever you felt was perfect. Carry this softness with you as we continue, like a swan gliding across the water. Your heart is wise, resilient, and ready. As we begin to close, I invite you to imagine yourself at the start of an ordinary day. You're preparing to step out into the world, into conversations, responsibilities, and experiences that matter to you. Imagine your heart surrounded not by a hard shield, but by a soft, intelligent boundary, one that knows when to protect and knows when to allow connection. This boundary is flexible. It breathes with you. It allows you to give and to receive. You don't have to carry the world. You don't have to harden to be safe. You can move through your day like the swan, supported by the water beneath you, steady, aware, and open. This is the practice I invite you to explore. Not perfection, but awareness and a heart that knows when to soften. Thank you, and namaste. As we begin to close this Reiki experience, I want to gently name something important. A softened heart doesn't stay open because we try harder. It stays open because we learn how to meet ourselves with kindness. One of the ways I've learned to do this, both personally and professionally, is through a simple reflective practice rooted in self-love. I'd like to share it with you now as an optional integration. Many people think that self-love means fixing themselves, being positive all the time, or constantly healing the past. I experience self-love very differently. I see it as a relationship with myself, one built on awareness, listening, and kindness toward where I am right now. Self-love isn't something we achieve. It's something we practice in small, compassionate moments. There's a quote by Barbara DeAngelis that has stayed with me for many years. The moment in between what you once were and who you are now becoming is where the dance of life really takes place. That's why I call this practice Sunday dance steps. Because life is not linear. We move forward, step back, move sideways, and begin again. And learning how to dance with ourselves with an open, softened heart is an act of deep self-love. Once a week, Usually on a Sunday, but sometimes on a Saturday night, I take a few quiet moments to reflect, not to judge myself, not to fix anything, just to notice. I begin by celebrating what nourished me this week, what brought joy, what made my soul sing, even briefly. Then I acknowledge what didn't get done, releasing shame, releasing pressure, letting compassion take the lead. I notice challenges, not as problems, but as invitations. And sometimes I step back, like standing on the edge of a river, simply observing what's unfolding. From that place, clarity begins to emerge, not forced, but felt. When we don't acknowledge where self-love is already happening, we can live in a quiet state of lack, always striving, always manifesting, always wanting. But the truth is, we are already enough. We just need to take and notice the moments that show us that. Self-love honors what makes us feel alive. And when we acknowledge that, the heart naturally softens again. If this practice speaks to you, you might try it once a week. Or you might choose one question, even simply asking, what supported me this week? That can be enough. What we open through Reiki, we can continue through awareness. A heart that softens, a body that listens, and a relationship with ourselves that grows gentler over time. Self-love isn't something we do once. It's something we return to again and again with kindness. If you'd like to explore this practice further, it will be available as a resource. Thank you for spending this time with me. Today, on 2-2, the number of the heart, meeting inside a numerological doorway designed for healing. And I thank Stephanie Mahoney for planning it this way. Namaste.